Hey, what's up? My name is J.M. Chaley and welcome to my channel. This month I want to talk about ghouls on this month's Creature Spotlight. Ghouls. What is a ghoul? You always hear about, the term kind of thrown around in slang, like, kind of campy with anything to do with the macabre. Like, coming up next, boys and ghouls, it's the new scary movie on the CW or whatever. Or someone like Vincent Price or Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark, saying, be prepared for some ghoulish delights, and all this sort of thing. But what is a ghoul? We kind of throw them around. They've been associated with vampires and zombies and monsters and ghosts and phantoms and demons and all different kinds of things. In 1985, there was a movie called Ghoulies, which might have been about monsters coming up out of the toilet and biting you in the bum. I didn't see it. I don't know. Maybe. In White Wolf's Vampire the Masquerade, a ghoul was actually a living human who drank vampire blood, and in this way were able to gain some vampire powers, speed, strength, that sort of thing, but they were pretty much just living humans who drank vampire blood. In Dungeons and Dragons, ghouls are undead, and they feast on the corpses that they find in graveyards. Now I can tell you that D&D got it closest to the original folklore of what a ghoul is. They missed a couple of beats though. Yes, they feast on flesh. They're not typically undead, and they're not mindless monsters. The original origins within folklore have Arabic origins, and they're depicted as living beings that do feed on flesh but can pass for humans. They're basically demons, maybe even fallen angels, but they're basically demons that feed on the flesh of corpses. The folklore of ghouls, of course, have passed from the lands of the Middle East into Europe, where the Europeans put their own spin on them, and that's where you kind of get the whole undead vibe, right? They're tied to vampires, maybe they're tied to zombies, maybe they're their own thing, but they're undead creatures and don't necessarily pass for human. In some iterations, even though they do pass for human, they become more monstrous looking if they don't keep consuming flesh on a regular basis. Maybe their skin starts to rot, maybe they become more monstrous, sharp teeth, big bulbous nose, I don't know. They're not very particular about what monstrous looking looks like, but they have to keep consuming flesh or else they'll lose their human appearance. That's one variation that stems back to the original Arabic folklore. Ghouls are popularized in many different modern adaptations, such as Tokyo Ghoul, which is a manga and an anime that revolves around ghouls that are living among us and trying to hide the fact that they're ghouls, but they must keep consuming human flesh to survive. And from there, they get into all sorts of trouble and hijinks, I assume. I have not read the manga or watched the series. Sorry. I do like anime, but I don't consume a whole lot of it. I like a lot of the classics, like Vampire Hunter D, The Ninja Scroll, Akira, of course. I like a lot of the modern stuff, like My Hero Academia, or Fairy Tail, or even Seven Deadly Sins. And I like a lot of the stuff from the 70s, like the old Getter, giant robot stuff, and Space Battleship Yamato, and Gotcha Man, definitely. Yeah. What was I talking about again? Ghouls! We're talking about ghouls in this video, so let's get back to ghouls. So let's talk powers. When it comes to powers, ghouls typically have the same breadth of powers in most iterations. Super strength, regeneration, and usually enhanced speed and enhanced senses. Strength is definitely up there in a very common denominator with all iterations. In many other versions of them, they're also shape-shifting. This goes back to the original Arabic folklore tales. It goes into some European versions as well. In the Arabic version, ghouls can transform into usually hyenas or dogs, So when you see them consuming flesh of a human, you don't think too much of it. I mean, it may be horrific and you think, oh, that poor person, whatever. But it's not that unusual as compared to, oh, a human eating the flesh of another human. In different versions, sometimes the humans that they eat are alive. They hunt them down as hyenas and take them down. Or the hyena digs up the grave themselves and, goes to town. How are ghouls created? Well, there's a couple of different versions of that too. The first, of course, is procreation, and that's when a mommy ghoul and daddy ghoul love each other a male and a female ghoul get together and have a baby ghoul. And they're kind of their own race. They pass for human. They're kind of demons, but they're their own species that procreate and make little ghouls that go off and eat people. Another version is a hybrid, and a hybrid really isn't a true hybrid because when you have a ghoul that mates with a human, the result is a ghoul, not a ghoul-human hybrid. So hybrid procreation, think of it that way. And a lot of times in folklore, this coupling was spoken of in terms of someone being accidentally buried, found by a ghoul, and then, right? So that's one version in folklore that you hear about as well. Another version would be a virus outbreak. This would be like kind of not unlike the zombie plague or sort of thing, except it's a ghoul plague, and people just become ghouls because of some virus that turns them into ghouls, and suddenly they start eating flesh. And finally, there's the classic and considered, this one and I'd say procreation are the two most popular ones, which is someone did something really shitty in life and got cursed and became a ghoul. So these are terrible people that do terrible things and they become ghouls. Now, maybe they become ghouls in life, like they're walking around and living their life and suddenly, they become a ghoul. Or maybe they die and they rise from the dead as a ghoul. Basically, they're undead. Either variation works, but that's kind of the final one. Cursed. So that about wraps it up. Ghouls, kind of a short creature spotlight, but honestly, it really comes down to the original Arabic folklore, which these were creatures that consumed the flesh of human beings. Sometimes they were undead, sometimes they weren't. Sometimes the flesh was living, sometimes it wasn't. Maybe they change and shape-shift into different creatures, and maybe sometimes they don't. But ghouls are nasty in all cases, and they want to eat your face. So that's never a good thing. If you like this video, please smush that like button, and as always, subscribe. These things help me out tremendously, and they help put my video in front of other viewers who can check out my content and maybe enjoy my content, and that's why I do what I do. Definitely check out my Kindle Vella series, The Unlife of Lisa Cooper, which is about a vampire. It doesn't have any ghouls in it, at least not yet. But it's got other stuff. Some of the things that are covered in my Creature Spotlight series pop up in the Kindle Vella series, or they will pop up in the Kindle Vella series. Give that a look. All you have to do is go on Amazon.com and search for The Unlife of Lisa Cooper. Start reading. It is free to read. And you can check out other content on jmchaley.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can see character art. You can review some stuff on Kindle Vella, my work in progress, A Flower in Hell, all sorts of things. So please drop on by. Be sure to check these things out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.